And got Ryan Simon back. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm all right. Slightly worse for wear from a very good night last night, but I'm hoping to bring you some delicious numbers on a plate of geometry.
Gosh. Thanks for stepping in short notice.
That's all right. It was a foolish thing to do for me to come in such a state, but there you go. Hair of the dog.
I'm sure it'll be fine. And yeah, you've been teasing me with your geometry and your numbers for the last few weeks.
I know, but we keep on like talking in between the slides and stuff.
Well, yeah, because like I was saying, like maybe after you're gone last week, that this stuff is so rich. And there's so many different levels of meaning and everything. You can't really rush through it because you're missing out if you try and rush through these subjects. Yeah. So I think it's important to sort of take our time and try and explore all the different areas rather than try and hash through it.
And that's the real meat in these. When I've listened back to these and like enjoyed them myself, I must say. You know, that's the meaty parts when we're all, you know, when somebody's asking a question, it's like, oh, yeah, do you know what I mean? There's many gaps to be filled in.
Yeah. And you know,
we're northern and we're bloody miserable and the weather's fucking shit.
It's been good today. It's been quite
nice. Lovely, hasn't it? Yeah, I went out for a good while today. Yeah. It's like, look, there's vitamin D everywhere.
True, and I love a bit of Vit D.
Soak it up.
Yeah, I really did soak it up. It was gorgeous. I mean, a bit of a chill wind, but we are in England and it is February.
Just fresh.
I was talking to a guy outside the restaurant today and I was like, I hope this lasts till spring, you know. If it's like this, I'll be well happy because we've had it rough, haven't we, last week? All these storms and the weather's been pretty grim since the solstice. So this is that time of year where everything's starting to look up. And
that's one of the things I love about Britain, that, you know, when the spring comes, everybody comes out and, you know, there's like this new life after winter, which very much fits into what we've been talking about. Yeah, absolutely.
Rebirth,
yeah. And I was saying last year, with all the lockdown stuff, like it's not going to last much past spring because you can't put English people in a house after spring. It's just impossible. Nope. You can't.
No. So, how do you want to play it? Do you want to like do a quick recap or go straight into the next slide or what?
Yeah, we can do a little recap and then I think you and I can have a quick discussion about the fundamentals of some of this processional stuff. And I think because you know quite a bit about that. And
I don't think so.
I'll just watch.
Don't rely on me, mate.
I know you know this stuff.
I watched a YouTube video. That's it.
Right, so
these books are just wallpaper.
Oh, fuck. Go on.
So, go on then. Go on, let's start. So, in Rivington, in the north of England, there are some pillars from a 13th century church. And upon these pillars are some Christian icons, including a Sator square, which is a very famous magical talisman that reads Sator, Aripo, Tenet, Opera, Rotas. One of the things that's most remarkable about this talisman is that you can read it in lots of different directions. It means the sower, Saturn, holds the works of the wheels. On the previous episodes, we've discussed many things on these pillars, including this works of the wheels, which is the greatest analogy for the knowledge we've been talking about. Some of it goes to some maths and some geometry that we'll go into depth today. And in the previous episodes, we've talked about certain shamanic things like magic mushrooms, for starters, as a gateway to shamanism, but also a technique involving not thinking, like transcendental meditation, symbolized particularly by, all this stuff is particularly symbolized by the pole star and the heavens moving around it. And the main thing being that you kind of stop thinking, connect yourself to the pole star, i.e., the pole star is a still point around which the heavens move, so you become that still point. And according to the mystics, this is where they derive a lot of the Harry Potter style magic powers, which you should take with a pinch of salt. However, my recent investigations are showing slightly different results, but that's an ongoing process. However, these magicians of the past had a lot of things going on in the stars, in these memes that are constellations, and they've put in all the mystery traditions, and by decoding these things, which are essentially on the pillars, we can derive many benefits, including health benefits and healing.
Which would be handy.
Yeah, I'm actually at it now.
No, it's these vape things. I do like them, but if you're not using them all the time, they really dry out my throat.
Do they?
And tickle me.
Yeah, I like the the big chunky ones. They're lovely. They're wet. Too wet.
Wetter on the throat.
Yes. So we've traced this symbolism from these pillars, indeed from the modern time, and in the last episode we traced it back as far as Göbekli Tepe when we looked at the famous vulture pillar, which had on the vulture as Cygnus, the swan, which is a shamanic emblem. You'll know that emblem from the ugly duckling not being a duckling at all, but being ugly, and then transforming, metamorphosing into this swan, which is exactly the same myth as is on that constellation of the Cygnus. Next to that, we saw a ball next to the vulture on this pillar, and beneath that, a headless shaman figure. Yeah. The ball being his head and the pole star, and around that was the leg of a bull, which is basically the plough. So we've pulled all these things together. So aside from all this shamanic stuff, this spiritual reconnection stuff, these guys have a kind of perfected calendar. Now, obviously, we have a calendar of 365 days a year. Right. But what they did was have this sacred calendar, which was 360 and 5 days. 360 being a perfect circle to us in degrees. You could have a circle of 365 degrees, but there's a reason there's 360 degrees. And just as is the point of the pillars, which has the god Saturn on them, and this god that's in this Sator square is Saturn. He's the god of time. He's a time lord. So now this maths that we're going to start to understand is all about time, harmonics, music, and many other absolutely fascinating things which are encompassed in places like Stonehenge, the pyramid. And if we get far enough in this episode, which I'm hoping we will, we'll get onto some of my personal discoveries, which is a pattern. A sacred geometry pattern which binds all of these things together. And although other people I came to find out had found sections of this pattern, what they didn't have was skills in Photoshop, and they were able to put this pattern in lots of different mystical places and realize just who was using this pattern and just how far back this thing goes. It goes back if I'm correct, it goes back a frightening distance, and
that is 60s.
Yeah, I mean, they were pretty frightening in the 60s. All those blouses everywhere. Yeah, the 60s. Beware. So we might as well get into the slides unless you have anything to add. No, sorry, not the slides. Let's talk about precession.
Oh,
so
right.
I think Phil would be a good person to start with the actual. What's the foundations of precession, Phil? What is the thing? What is precession? If you could sum it up,
it's something to do with like the wobble of the Earth on its axis. And what's interesting about precession is how slowly it's like most people think of the motions of the Earth. We have the rotation once every 24 hours.
The day.
And then we have the orbit. So we orbit around the sun once every 365 and a quarter, just shy of a quarter, I think, days.
The year.
But we also have this third motion, and it's to do with the wobble. And it's like if you imagine a line going from the North Pole to the South Pole, that's the Earth, and you've got a line here. Well, the Earth is actually slightly off kilter like that, 23.5 degrees, something like that.
On average.
And it's really hard to, like a ruler would be a good way of explaining it, to demonstrate it. But our Earth has this other motion, and it's like this.
Yeah.
It's like a spinning top.
So it's drawing circles in one direction at the top and the other, clockwise on one pole and counterclockwise on the other.
One might say a wheel.
Yeah. Yeah, a wheel in the sky, basically. Yeah, if you imagine the line of the North to South Pole carrying on above the Earth, it would draw a circle in the heavens. But what's interesting is this motion is so slow. 1 degree of precession takes about 72 years.
Right, okay.
About the length of a human life, coincidentally, or not.
Or not.
And it seems that from like what we've seen from ancient megalithic architecture, that people thousands of years ago were well aware of this movement. And it begs the question, how on earth could they be aware of this movement, which is so slow? You know, a full cycle of precession is 25,920 years, roughly.
360 times 72.
And this is where we get our ages. You know, they say the age of Aquarius.
Yeah.
So
Times people, was that?
yeah. If you break the long count, it's sometimes called this 25,920 year cycle. If you divide that into 12, like a zodiac, then an age of Pisces lasts 2,160
years.
2160. Make a mental note of all these numbers, because these numbers are important.
72, 216, 360, or 36. The zeros really don't matter.
432, 25920, all divisible by 9.
Oh, okay.
All add up to 9 when you add all the digits together.
Integers. Yeah, so 25920 adds up to 18. 1 and 8 is 9.
Called digital routing.
Digital routing, yeah. 432, 4 plus 3 plus 2 is 9. 72 years for 1 degree of precession. 7 plus 2 is 9.
Is 9.
They all add up to 9. It's crazy.
Okay, so excuse me. So now imagine a clock or a wheel, and this wheel's split up into 360. Each degree is worth 72 years. So now you could say, we got lots of degrees, 360 of those, but then we've got lots of 72s in each degree. Now you start doing the maths. So do we have a calculator, Andy? This might be fun for somebody.
I don't.
Oh, yeah, hang on. Yeah, I've got one, yeah.
This will be fun.
It's going to buzz, isn't it? No, it'll be fine. Should be fine.
Cool. So let's start with processional week. The numbers that start popping out straight away are these special numbers. And don't forget, we're talking about time and music and harmony. So we got 72, yeah? So 72 times 7 is a week.
So that's a week of procession.
And I know that's 432.
I might have put it wrong.
I hope I know it's 432.
72 times 7?
Yeah. It better be 432.
It's this number, but it's
54,
still
504. Sorry, yeah, my fault. 504, so
0
54 is one of these numbers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so now, 72
Yep.
times 30.
So that would be a month of procession.
Yes.
2160.
Mm-hmm.
2160, which is a processional month. So the age of Aquarius will last 2,160 years, as the age of Pisces has lasted 2,160 years. So now you can say, well, what's 6 months? Or a third of a year? Or you take your pick. Come on, let's do 6 months. So
There's 72 times 180.
12,960.
okay, there you go. What are these numbers? You can double that and get 25,920.